Hello everyone, my name is Anton, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use Qodana plugin for my favorite IDE, IntelliJ IDEA. Qodana is a code quality platform developed by JetBrains, and it helps you to keep track of your project's health as part of your CI pipeline by leveraging the static analysis engines from the very same IDE. The IDE plugin helps you to configure and check the inspection profile locally. It helps you to configure Qodana for your continuous integration server, and it lets you to inspect the reports that were generated in the CI server right in your IDE. So I want to demonstrate to you the full workflow with the IDE plugin. First, I'm going to set up the inspection profile locally. Then I will configure a CI job to link the project in the Qodana Cloud for browsing the report in the IDE plugin. So I have this famous Spring Pet Clinic project open in my IDE right here, and I will configure Qodana for this project from scratch with the IDE plugin. So how do I start? I go to the Tools menu, Qodana, try Code Analysis with Qodana, and I will go through the configuration wizard. The wizard generates a standard configuration file for the linter that will be used in the CI environment later. In the configuration file, the important property is the profile name, and by default, it's Qodana Starter that contains a minimal set of inspections to check for the really critical issues in the project. But if you are serious about code quality in your project, I suggest using Qodana Recommended Profile instead. That's the only change I will make to the configuration file for now. And now I can run the analysis locally and see how the inspections work on my code base. As a result, we will see a report in the Problems tool view at the Server-Side Analysis tab. There is also a Vulnerabilities tab that reports the CVEs in the project dependencies, and this functionality relies on the information provided by checkmarks, so you will have an idea about the potential security risks in your project. The plugin allows you to browse the HTML report to see how the report will look in the Qodana Cloud dashboard. If I click on this link right here, the browser window opens and I will see the sandburst diagram, which is easy to navigate, and it applies as a filter. Whatever changes we do in this dashboard are going to apply to the configuration file. For instance, I can enable or disable any of the inspections included into the profile. Let's enable an inspection that is disabled by default, like this. Now I can update the configuration file, and if I switch back to the IDE, it tells me that the configuration file was modified. I can see now that the changes I made in the dashboard are applied to the configuration file, and I only need to commit the configuration file to the project root, so it will be used by Qodana linters when I set up the CI pipeline. Now let's see how the IDE plugin helps to configure Qodana in a CI server. I go to the Tools menu, Qodana, add Qodana to CI pipeline, and the configuration wizard provides the instructions for configuring Qodana with the CI server of your choice. My demo project is hosted on GitHub, so it makes sense to configure GitHub Actions. By the way, there is a dedicated video on how to configure Qodana with GitHub Actions, and you can find a link to that tutorial in the description below. As you can see, the wizard generates a workflow configuration that I could just add to my project, but there is already a workflow configuration file in this project, so I will just copy only the Qodana related step from the generated workflow into the existing configuration file. First, I don't want to wait for the full build in this workflow, so I'm going to change the command in the build step from package to verify. Also, I want to run Qodana step only if verify step succeeds. So I need to add an additional property to the Qodana step to depend on the build step. I also want this workflow to trigger in the inspections branch only, so I will modify the triggers right here. And I need to add a specific option for this project because it contains both Maven and Gradle configuration files, and I want it to be recognized as a Maven project. Then I need to supply an extra property to the Qodana scan action saying that the project type is Maven. When the CI pipeline completes, Qodana step will send a report to the Qodana Cloud dashboard. For that, I need to give it a token that I can acquire from the project in the dashboard that I want it to be linked to. Let's go to Qodana Cloud dashboard and create a new project for collecting the reports. So I create a new project in Qodana dashboard. It asks for the SSH URL of my GitHub repository. So let's copy that from the GitHub page. The dashboard wants to access the source code repository, so we're gonna have to set up the deploy keys for our project right here in the settings. If I go into the deploy keys tab, I can add the deploy key like this and proceed with the setup at the dashboard. I can choose the team where my project should be residing, and I proceed. So the project is now created, and it provides me Qodana token that I can now use to send the report from the CI job into this dashboard. So we now need to add it as a secret key for actions, so it could be used from our GitHub Actions workflow. And the name needs to match whatever we have in the configuration file. So we paste the key and we have it all configured. Now we can just commit whatever changes we made to the configuration, and it will trigger the CI process where the Qodana scan action will run the inspections and generate the report and finally send it to Qodana Cloud dashboard. Now let's see what is happening in GitHub Actions. Since we pushed the new changes to the repository, the workflow started, and we have two steps in the pipeline. First, we run Maven verify. If it's successful, then Qodana scan action starts, generates the report, and it will send it to Qodana Cloud dashboard. So the workflow passed successfully, and I can find the report summary at the bottom of the overview page. There I can find a link to the detailed Qodana report in the project. So let's navigate and see the report in Qodana Cloud dashboard. As you can see, this is the same report we have seen previously when I was configuring Qodana locally in my IDE. So the reports from all the CI runs will now accumulate in this dashboard, allowing us to monitor the quality trends in the project. Finally, let's see how the IDE plugin links to the Qodana Cloud service and displays the report. Let's go to Tools, Qodana, and select Qodana Cloud item. Now I can find the project in the list and link it to the project in my IDE. After this, the problems view will display the report that I can use to navigate the issues and connect it to the code right in the editor. So we have made a full circle here. I started with the local configuration of the Qodana profile. Then I used the IDE plugin to configure GitHub Actions workflow that I linked to the project in Qodana Cloud dashboard. The inspection report was uploaded from GitHub Actions to Qodana Cloud dashboard. Finally, I connected the IDE plugin to Qodana Cloud and downloaded the report in my IDE. Although it could have been anyone from my team, we work together in the same project, the CI runs the inspections, and we all get the same report. Without having to log in into the Qodana dashboard, we can get the report right in the IDE. So this was the brief overview of the Qodana plugin in IntelliJ IDEA. Give it a try and let me know in the comments how it worked for you. Check out the description for the links to other Qodana videos. Thanks for watching and keep your code healthy.